Hey everybody, welcome back to Twin Oaks Farm Poultry. You're in the chicken barn with Melissa, and we are looking at a small flock of Cornish Rock Cross meat chickens. These little birds are 6 days old, and we are going to be asking the question, what is bad about raising meat chickens? And so, like I said, I'm so glad you're here. This video is the second part of a 3-part series on our YouTube channel, Twin Oaks Farm Poultry. And we asked the questions, what's the good, the bad, and the ugly of raising meat chickens? So that's what inspired this set of videos. So if you saw part 1, the ugly truth of raising meat chickens, you learned that there is a high percentage of flock loss or chickens dying prior to processing them into poultry. And we talked about the reason for that is generally heart failure in the birds before they're done with the grow out schedule. And they also can have some structural problems in their legs that can prevent them from actually getting up to get to the food and water. And so in this second part of the series, like I said, we're asking what is bad about raising meat chickens, because we want to save the best part to last. So in part 3 of the series, we'll talk about what's good about raising meat chickens. But for now, we are asking the question, what's bad about raising meat chickens? And I told you a couple videos back what inspired this set of questions and these videos for this 3-part series was that I was talking to one of my sons, and we are so blessed. We have 3 sons, and just like all of us, they're a work in progress, each one of them, but so am I, so are you. We're all works in progress, but we're just so blessed that they are such an integral part of our household and of all the projects that we do. We're just so grateful for every day that we get to spend with them. And they are hard workers. They get out there and work, so we're really grateful for that. But also, like I said, just enjoying soaking up that they're still home with us, because the bottom line is, we have a farming lifestyle, and we raise some livestock, raise some animals, but the most important things we will have ever raised is our children. So we're just so grateful for that. But they're all teenagers, and I asked our middle son, who's 18, I asked him those 3 questions, what's good, what's bad, and what's ugly about raising meat birds. And so when I asked him what's bad about them, he said, you just have to do something for them all the time. And so just like he had distilled the ugly truth down to, they just die all the time, which he was right, high flock loss prior to processing because of generally heart failure. He was also right about this question, what's bad about them? They're high maintenance. So if you've raised egg-laying chickens, you got to get them started right. Egg-laying chickens, you got to get them started right. You got to feed them. You got to make sure they have water. And then when they're closer to laying the eggs, you got to, kind of change their feed so that it's more tailored for their needs as egg layers rather than growing birds. But when you talk about meat birds, on the other hand, this isn't that. There's so much more to it with raising meat birds, especially this specific breed, this Cornish Rock Cross meat bird. So that's what we're going to talk about here for a few minutes. And then actually we have another series, going on simultaneously, kind of overlapping this one, that's basically about an 8-part series. So you'll actually see this flock that is current now that you just saw week to week, and see their development and their growth, and you'll see some of that maintenance as we go. But they are high maintenance, so I'll show you a few of the things in the pen that we end up changing out, and some of them talk about some of the maintenance that we do. So first of all, like I said, these guys are 6 days old, so they're almost a week old. So what's important right now is a safe brooder where we can keep them warm enough, but where they also can get away from the heat source, so that conversely they don't overheat. Another thing that's important is that they have feed all the time, and that they have water all the time. And water is super, super important. Classic 4-H or FFA question, what's the most important nutrient in raising an animal? Folks, y'all, it's water. They got to have water all the time, so don't ever let the water go empty. So a couple, and then also wanted to say too, before we go on, another thing that's important is that you're trying to keep them the right temperature. So like meat birds this age, they've wanted to be able to be about 95 degrees. Now we need to be about 90 degrees. So each week we'll kind of try to bump that temperature down as best we can. But they're never going to want to be less than about 70 degrees. So it's hard to do that when you don't have a heated barn and it's winter, which it is now for us here. But we start with these little waters. And I get a blur on that when I look at it from that side. But these are about a gallon water. And so we started off with these on the floor. Obviously, whoops, on the floor like that. When they were little bitty birds, when they first got home. And then we put down one riser and we set it on there. And now, see when he's drinking, he's got to reach way, way down to drink. You can see that one. So we don't want that. We want to keep the trays of our feeders and waters about the height of our birds' backs, and that's healthier for them. So that's why we do that. So we're constantly adjusting with risers on waters, and we'll do that on feeders too. And in fact, I don't have any of the big waters in here, but it won't be too much longer. We'll switch these out for big waters that hold 5 gallons that we can fill from the top. Also feeders, so we keep feeders full all the time for ours. And we can talk about that in another video. There's different prevailing theories on that, but we keep feeders full all the time. And so these have removable tops. So these come off like that. They snap, and I could unsnap all 4 and it hinges over. But at first we have the tops off, and then about day 4 we put the tops back on. And actually I will show you when we change out feeders, they'll change to these big feeders and we keep them full all the time. So that's that. Another important thing is that we block out the corners. If we don't do this, these little birdies will push back into this corner and they could pile on each other. So that always has to be maintained. And then of course the heat lamps, we're using heat lamps that we have them fixed up on chains. And of course you have to have electric source for that, so it's running to the electric. But we have them fixed up so we can adjust them, because just like we raise the feeders and waters as this bird gets bigger and we need to raise that lamp so he's not hitting it with his back, we'll do that. So, and then a big adjustment is that, like, this is the brooder we built for them now. We just built it in the barn. But by this weekend, so that's about 4 days from now, they will be growing out of this brooder. So actually we'll do something this weekend coming up in about 4 days. We'll expand like more towards the door, or we'll just like put fresh bedding down here and we'll make a new pen for them. But we'll make a change so that they've got more room, because they're going to be growing out of this one. So that's just some of the maintenance that has to happen. Actually, what I'm preparing for right now, if you can tell in these bulbs, they put off kind of a red light. We used to use clear ones. We've changed to red ones, and we're going to try a light dimming program to help us regulate how much feed the birds are consuming, which is a fine line because we want them eating, but we don't want their hearts giving out before the processing date. So we're trying to regulate that. So we'll tell you more about the light dimming program as we follow this flock. But thank you for joining us for What's Bad About Raising Meat Chickens. We're really glad you're here. We hope you'll press subscribe on Twin Oaks Farm Poultry, and feel free to leave us any questions in the comments. We will certainly answer what we can. Thanks for joining us. God bless you.